How are you all doing today? Buona serata. Right? It's kind of, it's almost 5, so buona sera. Anytime that it's evening, that's what we say. So, today is National Pizza Day, and this morning I put on my page that I was going to come on twice and show you guys how we do National Pizza Day. Now the thing is, I've done pizza on here before and I will do it again because what I want to do is hopefully more often than not, I can try to encourage some of you to have the ingredients ready: flour, water, yeast, and salt. That's all you need to make a good dough. Sometimes you want to put a little olive oil in it. There's all kind of recipes out there. Start with about 2 cups of water. This is not exact. It doesn't have to be exact. So I think my original way back recipe I was given was 1 3/4 cups of water and 1/4 cup for the yeast, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I have this lukewarm water here for my yeast. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my yeast and get it started. Okay, so I'm making one batch, which would make you say 2 loaves of bread or 2 pizzas, not two larger thin pizzas or 2 smaller thick pizzas. So basically 1 tablespoon. That's the equivalent. If you buy those little packets at the store, it's like 1 packet. I buy the whole 1 pound, the big pound thing, and I put it in a good heavy duty freezer bag, and I keep it in the freezer and it lasts longer. It doesn't die and go bad. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take out of my sugar bowl here just a pinch. It's probably, 1/4 teaspoon of sugar, just enough to feed the yeast to get it started. Okay, stir that up. So I'm going to set that aside there for a second. Okay, so now very simply, all you're going to do is take your about 2 cups of water, and you're going to add about a tablespoon of I like good sea salt. So nice coarse sea salt or whatever. A good tablespoon, and yes, that's a tablespoon. Okay. And we have a tablespoon, and now we have a wooden spoon. So we're going to dissolve this up a little, stir it around in the water just a little. And now we're going to start with about 3 cups of flour. Now right now I'm using organic all-purpose flour. I just ran out of my Italian pizza flour, which I'm going to go get some more this week, but you can use all-purpose flour. And that's one of the things I want you all to know when you watch me, is that there's so many ways you can modify things. And yes, there are optimal ways to do things, ottimo, as they would say in Italian, or there are ways that still are fine and it's still going to be better than any pizzeria you go to. So we're going to start with 3 cups of flour. And again, if they're a little high, a little low, it doesn't really matter. So about 3 cups. I just use that as a general. All right. So we're going to just stir this up until it's completely blended in. What we have here now is a really wet mixture. It's very, you want to make sure it's all mixed in, get that salt all in. Okay, it's nice and smooth, see? Just water, flour, and a little salt. Now, normally if my water is a little bit warmer, this would be bubbling more, but this is bubbly, and I do know that this yeast is good because I've used it just this week. Usually this is a way of proofing it, and it's kind of making sure your yeast is good, but I know it's good. Okay, and now I'm going to mix this all in. I've seen recipes, and I don't know how they do it, but from what I understand and what I've always learned in Italy and here, you don't mix your yeast with the salt. So for example, if I wanted to throw this all in at once, I don't want to mix the yeast with the salt because apparently salt directly on the yeast kills it or hurts it, makes it cry, I don't know. But anyway, so that's why you mix a little sugar with your yeast. You're coaxing it with the sweetness, make it come alive. And then you dilute the salt with the water and the flour, and then it doesn't come in like that direct contact with the yeast, doesn't kill it. So we're just mixing this. So now this is obviously a lot wetter. See, look. Whee! Now, I could continue using the white, which I'll probably just put maybe a little bit in. I like to put in some whole wheat flour. So I have organic whole wheat flour, and I'll put in anywhere from 1 cup to 2 to 3 cups. It just depends. Usually do the first half white, and I'll throw a little white in, and then I fill it up with wheat. So we're going to start with we'll start with about 1.5, and I put about 1/2 cup of white in, so that's 2 cups. This recipe approximately takes anywhere between 5 and 6 cups of flour. But honestly, you know, because I don't measure it exact, I fill it up around 2 cups. The amount of water I put in my yeast bowl varies. Sometimes it's 1/4 cup, sometimes it's 1/2 cup. So that little extra, you know, 1/4 cup or 1/2 cup of water could, you know, make a difference in if you have an extra little bit of flour or not. So it's all about feel. You want your dough to be just not sticking to you. So you want it to be a little tacky. You want it to be a little soft. You don't want to put in as much flour as you can get in it. You want it to be just not sticking to you. Because the lighter it is, your pizza dough. So now I use this same, 90% of the time, I use this same bread dough and pizza dough. I make both. This is my quickie, easy recipe. I always keep a little flour here on the side because I'm going to put a little here and I'm going to get this all out. Boom. Okay. And let's get this off my fingers. Put a little bit on top. Just enough to get it so it's not sticking to me. Do one thing though, always clean your hands off and then dry them off, because if the more dough you have on your fingers, the more it sticks to your fingers. So anyway, this is kind of it. We're just kneading this nice dough together with just a little bit of flour on the outside so it doesn't stick. And you want to knead it for a good 5 minutes. Some people say 10, you know, at least 5. You can make a quickie, and I think the longer you knead it that first time, the better. But it doesn't have to be hard. It's not quite as thick as a pasta dough. And I love making this into a nice smooth ball then. Look at that. And I've got this, boom, nice ball of dough. I'm just gonna throw it back in. Now, I will tell you something. Again, some people will say, and some of these chefs will say, come with a clean bowl, have it nice and oiled, and then place your dough ball inside of it. You know what? It doesn't really matter. Right. You can put it in the same bowl you had it in. You're gonna pull it out and it's fine. Save yourself the time of washing the bowl in between. If you want to and you want it to look pretty, you got company coming over and you're showing them how you make pizza, by all means, grease the bowl, make it looking nice. Now, if you leave it just as is, cover it with a rag, you're totally fine. So we're gonna take this nice clean kitchen towel, we're gonna cover the bowl, and we're gonna set it aside. And in fact, I'm going to put it over here in the corner next to my oven, which was on just a little while ago, so it's still warm in that corner. A warm, non-drafty corner is the best place to let your dough rise. And then once it has doubled, at least doubled, or you know, hour and a half or so, that's when we're gonna come back and make your pizza. I'm back again. I told you I'd be back because I made my pizza dough earlier and I let it proof, and it's nice and poofed up right now. So really quickly, I'm not doing a full-blown like tomato sauce and cheese pizza tonight because I'm just kind of feeling in the mood for something lighter. And this is, you know, pizza is a thing that is typical of making it however you want it. It's a beautiful bread with your favorite things on it. So tonight I'm all doing fresh things, except for, actually, I'm going to show you really quickly. This is some of my pesto that I had frozen, and I made it in a, so what I do is I put spoonfuls onto a cookie sheet and I flash freeze it, then I throw it here in the bag. So I've got these little blobs of pesto. So what I'm gonna do is take one, and I'm just gonna throw some olive oil in with this and just let it melt. In the meantime, it'll melt down. I'm gonna slice up some tomatoes because I like fresh tomatoes. One of the things I love is like putting, instead of sauce, put pesto on the pizza and then put sliced fresh tomatoes on top. Oh, so simple and so refreshing, so good. Sometimes I put mozzarella on it, sometimes I don't. Tonight I think we're just gonna go straight tomatoes and pesto and garlic. Well, I'll show you what I'm gonna do. So, I'm gonna take these, I think I'm gonna do half of the pesto and tomato and half this other thing. So I'm just gonna push this in front of me here for a second. And I'm gonna show you, this is one of my favorite kitchen tools. You know how I always say don't get single-use items. This isn't really a single use, this is probably like a 3-use because I use it for garlic and onions. I use it for nuts. On occasion if I wanna chop up some chocolate chips or something finer. But anyway, my favorite thing is the garlic. So I've got a whole head of garlic peeled here. So I'm just gonna put it, now sometimes I'll do this right on my cutting board, but this is my dough board here. I could do it on that one, but it also comes with this cool lid. So I'm just going to chop the crap out of this. Okay. And now I have this beautiful minced garlic. And I have all this beautiful chopped garlic. So now I'm going to put this back in the little bowl. Now what I usually do is I put this in a little jar. So it will probably end up in a little jar, but I have this here right now. I put it in a little jar and I cover it with oil, which is actually what I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to put a pinch, kind of a heavy pinch, maybe 2 pinches. Of course, salt, sea salt. You know, sea salt is so much better for you than like regular salt. Now I'm going to completely fill this with olive oil, completely cover it. And that's just going to stay there and marinate. Okay, so here's my dough. Look it, it's pretty much doubled in size. So it was just this little ball earlier. All right, so I'm just gonna, oh my gosh, this is so nice. I was sitting here in my proofing corner. And then I realized, you know that I've been in this house 6 months and I've used that oven almost daily. Do you know I didn't even know that there was a proofing section, like a proofing thing, and it just go on warm for me? I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I'm not gonna like totally mush this all down. Now sometimes, you know, there's so many ways to make bread and pizza and dough that you really can't go wrong. That's why you should never beat yourself up over which way to do it. Should I do it this way? Did it come out right or wrong? You can rise it once and then spread it out on the pizza pan and let it rise again. You can rise it overnight, you can rise it in an hour, you can get fast yeast, it's not as good, but anyway. Now, because this has been sitting, I'm just spreading the olive oil all over my pan with my dough. And I'm just gonna, today I don't know if I'm gonna stretch it all out because I want it a little thicker, but we'll see. Because if this recipe will give you 2 big thin pizzas, or it'll give you, you know, 2 smaller, thicker ones. I'm making 1 pizza and I'm gonna make some rolls so we can have them for breakfast. All right, so while that's resting for a minute, because always gotta let it rest for a minute, I'm gonna make some rolls here on this one. So just throw a little oil on, put that out of the way there, and so I get about 6 rolls out of this. So I just roll them up into a little ball. I kind of tuck them into themselves. Some people roll them this way on the board. Everybody's got their way. I like doing them in my hand. Okay, so I kind of tuck them into themselves until I get nice and I pinch the bottom, and then I just got a nice round little roll on top. And you can flatten them out, depending if you want them, you know, flatter and wider. You can flatten them. You can let them be little balls and let them puff up. It's all up to you. Or I could have made this one big loaf, you know, tall, long and skinny, short and fat, you know, whatever. I'll cook these, then I'll slice them after they've cooled. I'll slice them in half and I'll freeze them. I'll put them in a Ziploc and freeze them, but they're sliced in half. So that way, if we want to have one for breakfast, we just take one out and pop it in the toaster or warm it, or just take it out and half an hour later, it's, you know, room temperature and it's just like fresh. So it's good. So I've got this pretty little bit I'm going to stick over here to rise, actually. Cover them up. And now I'm going to go back to my pizza. So, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. A lot of people say, oh, my pizza dough always comes back, and the more I stretch it, the more, you know, it springs back. Of course, because yeast is a living organism. It's going to fight you. But again, each time you stretch it, you take it as far as it'll go and you let it rest. Now, what I'm going to do is tonight I'm making this more rustic one. I'm not going to make it perfectly square and go into the corners. Just going to make sure it's nice and even. And I'm just going to make kind of a more rustico one, but it's going to get a little poofier. It's going to get a little bit thicker because I didn't stretch it all the way out. So what I'm going to do now is get my oil again, because olive oil is the spice of life. Okay. So I'm just going to spread this over the whole thing a little bit. Now let's see if my pesto is melting down. All right, and I've got enough of it melted that this is perfect. So I'm going to just put this on here. So now I've got this lovely little pesto on this side. And now I've got this beautiful garlic. Now I'm literally taking a whole handful of this garlic. Now I'm not using all, normally this I would use for a whole pizza, but I'm not using all of it because I'm only doing half. And I'm spreading garlic over this whole thing. And I'm talking thick. This is, I've done this before on here, but I'm just sharing it again. This is my famous garlic pesto. Well, my garlic focaccia, but tonight it's going to be more pizza-like because I'm going to put the tomatoes over here on the pesto. Oops. Look how pretty that is. Look at the pretty colors. I mean, you know, it's just so nice. Now, I'm just going to take, now I did put a little bit of salt in the garlic side, but I did not on the pesto side, and I want to put a little bit of salt on top. Just a little bit of coarse salt. Okay, and then I'm going to go into my bag because I don't have a jar. I got to put it in a new jar of my beautiful green gold oregano. And don't overdo it, just a little bit all the way around. I literally am taking these little pieces and just breaking them up. And that's all you need. And this is going to be part of our dinner tonight. We're actually just having a nice big salad, un'insalata, un pezzo di pizza. And I'm going cheeseless tonight just because I kind of want it to be a little lighter. We kind of ate heavy today. So we're just going to have a little bit of this with a nice big salad. And that's going to be our National Pizza Night dinner. Little pizza, little salata. So we've got garlic focaccia and a fresh tomato and pesto pizza going in the oven. Now my oven, when you cook bread and when you cook pizza, it's got to be on high. So 400 to 450, depending on how hot your oven gets, but get it up there high because you want that crust to crisp up, and because it's thin, it cooks so quick. And we're not even melting cheese, so this thing is just gonna cook nice. We're gonna brown that garlic just a little teeny bit. It's gonna be nice. So anyway, please have a wonderful rest of your National Pizza Night. I will post a picture at the end of the video when this is done so you can see what my finished product looks like. But I hope you enjoy bringing this to your table, or if tonight, because it's National Pizza Night, there's a good show on TV tonight. This is the okay once in a blue moon to put it on the coffee table. But remember, the rest of the time, eat at the table and face each other. Okay, so have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.